And here we go. We're live. Welcome to MSUA Game Changers webcast, where we speak with satellite and mobile connectivity thought leaders about industry trends and share what you need to know about the future of mobile satellite communications. I'm your host, Roger Lanctot, and I'm excited to introduce Maxime Puteaux, principal at Novaspace. Novaspace has just published the 28th edition of Satellites to be Built and Launched, which projects that more than 43,000 satellites will launch over the next decade, reshaping competition across orbits and applications and fueling a $665 billion market in manufacturing and launch services. You couldn't nudge it up to $1 trillion, Maxime? All right. At MSUA, we thought this would be an ideal time to chat with Maxime. Maxime has a pretty extensive resume, so I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Thank you, Roger. Happy to talk to you today. I'm Maxime Puteaux. I lead Novaspace Space Infrastructure Center of Excellence, whereby we cover every hardware-related topics, including launches and satellite. And I had the pleasure to manage satellite to build and launch report for the last few years.
Wow, you made it much shorter than I would have. Okay, but we'll accept. Thank you. So Maxime moderated a panel discussion at the latest World Space Business Week, which included SpaceX, Arianespace, Northrop Grumman, United Launch Alliance, and Mitsubishi Heavy Industries on the topic launching into the future. Anyone listening to that panel at the event discussion would have been impressed by the evident progress toward more frequent launches and streamlined logistics. Were those descriptions credible? How much progress have we made around launch, Maxime?
I would say that although their statement and we are credible with some caveats, we are experiencing interesting time, I would say, in a way that we are now about to exit some years where in the Western world of access to space, SpaceX was in virtual monopoly. Meaning that some incumbent player, either ULA, Ariane, Mitsubishi Heavy Industry, joined by newcomers like Blue Origin, are now launching their next generation of launchers, which were an answer to the disruption of Falcon 9. But yet, we can tell we are not there yet in terms of ramp up, meaning that if I look at these companies, their maximum launch capacity used to be a dozen a month, while SpaceX is at this in a week, usually. So interestingly, 2025 is a kind of a pivot year. It's almost the end of the tunnel. We see light at the end of the tunnel. Now the question is it light for a more brilliant future, or is it death at the end of the tunnel? As also the market is changing and being also could be also disrupted by larger vehicle like Starship.
It was what struck me was that this strange juxtaposition of you can go, as the SpaceX executive was saying, you can go to their website and just pick a date, but of course that date's going to be 2 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very you have to wait.
You kind of have to wait. I mean, the access to space is not getting shorter in a way. It's more commoditized. You have more launch opportunities, and I think like SpaceX is doing the best that they can in providing launch opportunities to the industry, and to a fair extent, they're also being supporting kind of their competitor on the satellite business, just because that they have so much launch availability that they want to market it on the top of their own demand. Again, SpaceX is first and foremost its largest own customer. Starlink accounts for more than 70% of SpaceX launches, meaning that on the top of this, they are still able to provide opportunities to other customers, but yet everyone wants to be launched as soon as possible. For a few years ago, people were queuing at the exit of satellite manufacturing plant because the satellite were delayed. Now the launch in a bit of a bottleneck. It's a market where supply and demand adjust. And hopefully this additional launcher will also provide more launch opportunities in the coming month.
It seems like we are always dancing around or ignoring, excluding, or considering very separately the Chinese. What can you say about the status of launch resources in China? Is China in open competition with the West?
No, there is no front competition between the Western and Chinese launcher because due to export control regulation, as a satellite manufacturer or satellite operator, you cannot launch from China due to transfer of technology restriction, either in the US, ITAR, or in Europe with other regulation. This being said, the Chinese launcher landscape has significantly changed and is more or less flying below radar. I can count more than 20 different launch companies in China developing launchers and with very innovative features, either looking at um, reusability, high trust system, very capable, and this is being done while we are not so much paying attention, and this also will put China back, I would say, in the launcher technology race. Chinese technology and launch technology is fairly old, but works. Don't be mistaken. I mean, they launch more than 60 times a year with their legacy suppliers, delivering on time and on quality. But yet, China realized that they also wanted to prepare the future and have a test and learn phase, but they could not allow it through their legacy players. So they opened the door to a Chinese new space where you have all these players testing vertical takeoff and landing capabilities, new propulsion technologies. And yet what we will see in the coming years is kind of a consolidation where the winners will be supported, cherry-picked by the Chinese government, and will also and become one of its suppliers. Yet the question is, can they address new markets? You may be also familiar with the One Belt, One Road initiative, where China wants to export its products and develop new Silk Roads. Launchers could be very much one of these transportation way to sell more Chinese satellite or to sell more connectivity. In the report that you mentioned, we have 5 mega constellation accounting for 60% of the satellite demand in numbers, and yet two of them will be Chinese constellation. One for the Chinese government, Guowang, and the other one with some commercial ambition named Q60 or King Fan, which could very much also have a global ambition.
Interesting. So I've heard estimates that there are 200 organizations and or nations seeking to launch their own LEO constellations. Is that true? And is that sustainable?
So our latest figure account for 300 actually organization at various stages of development. Don't be mistaken. I mean, we survey 600 project of constellation at different stages of development. Some being very much operational, some being very much at the concept of development stage. And yet, at Novaspace, we screen every project from a financial, technical, industrial capability. And yet we have shortlisted 300 of them, but not at full capacity. For a large majority of them, only a handful, if not a single satellite will be launched for the constellation, because at this current stage of our assessment, we don't believe that they are in a position to fully deploy their satellite. But yet, out of the 40,000 satellites that we forecast, 98% of them will be for constellations. So this is really a demand shift.
And what about the reports that I hear about that there are 150 planned moon missions? Is that accurate? And what is your expectation in that area?
It's broadly accurate. I mean, there is definitely a momentum around going back to the moon, or going to the moon for everyone except the US. Yet, it's all about schedule. I think the sleep rate will be very high in a way that it's fairly challenging from a technical point of view. budget and market-wise, I mean, it's government-driven. No one has a business interest on the moon except government space agencies. So there are a lot of missions. A lot of them are being outsourced to the private sector in the US. There are also additional government mission as part of Artemis from member states or partners of NASA. Yet the moon ambition right now are a bit in between, in a way that partners of the US are still trying to understand what NASA wants to do next, and in which direction. Are we going back to the good old SLS, so the NASA and Boeing built launcher? Are we going to be disrupted by a moon version of Starship, which could cannibalize the whole Artemis program? There are a lot of question mark around this 150 missions to the moon.
Okay. And what about the demands on deorbiting satellites and deconflicting orbiting hardware? What kind of progress have we achieved? Obviously, at your event, at other industry events, there's always a panel on this topic. But what is your view, from above?
I think that there is a general consensus on the fact that there is a sense of emergency, considering that the number of objects that we are launching, and that to avoid the tragedy of commons, we need to address this issue, and this also comes from a technological angle. Yet there is today no financial incentive for companies to deorbit their own satellites. But at some point, considering for constellation, considering the concentration of our object that they are putting, the cost of inaction could be higher than the cost of actually deorbiting the satellite. There are some changes happening, being discussed, and in the US, the FCC enacted its 5-year deorbiting rule, meaning that people have to deorbit their own, otherwise they will be fined or their license is at risk. And in this regard, this could trigger demand for onboard propulsion or deorbiting devices, which could accelerate this compliancy, because above a given orbit, you no longer decay naturally. You need some help. There are also some discussion with regard to zero debris charter being pushed by ESA. There were also discussion about upcoming demonstration mission, Astro Scale, Clean Space in Japan and in Europe are also securing contracts to deorbit some junk object in orbit. This is very much happening, and there is also another component which is by far the largest, with regard to space traffic monitoring. In a way, we don't fly blind to date in space, or we no longer fly blind, but yet there are a lot of uncertainties. So the question is about having eyes from the ground to space or in space to make sure that we are managing things accordingly.
There's a lot of talk in that regard about AI. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, we have, and it's not limited actually to space traffic monitoring. I mean, we have never launched so many objects in space. We have never generated so much traffic through our communication satellite. We have never collected that amount of Earth observation picture. And in this regard, AI is having a cross impact over all segments of the value chain, because you need some help to process, to improve all the information that one single human individual could not figure out. So AI is everywhere and nowhere at the same time, and everyone is trying to figure out how it will impact. What I can see from my angle is the fact that computer used to be kind of geared and mechanics, and are becoming more and more like a smart by becoming computer in spaces, which is having a significant revolution on the way you design satellites, on the way you operate. But for years, satellites used to be limited for one purpose on one area of the world. With a software-defined satellite and artificial intelligence, you can very much adapt your satellite, or your satellite can also process a lot of things in orbit and only download what is relevant. AI is really an enabler, and we very much need it.
Do you have any thoughts regarding reusable versus disposable paths to increased launch frequency?
Pads or launchers?
Sorry?
Launch pads or launchers?
Well, launch strategy, and obviously I'm referring to the Astra presentation at WSBW, where he was emphasizing disposability as opposed to almost everybody else at the event who was talking about reusability.
I mean, you have different ways to achieve cost reduction. What most of the industry is taking is reusability, the reusability way, because it's that's a way to achieve marginal costs, and it's I would say it's a flight proven one. And SpaceX has demonstrated that on the top of cost reduction, there are also some advantages with regard to time to orbit. And in a way, SpaceX more or less operate as an airline today rather than an aircraft manufacturer, because they have a fleet of first stage boosters that they can dynamically allocate to their customer, and that's how they are capable to launch every 2 days. There's also another way, which is about expandability. Astra is investigating this way, but I think that most of the industry so far is focusing on the usability, and there is also a sustainability component into it. I mean, you may want to expand things because they are so cheap, but more and more of our industry is subject to attention, to scrutiny with regard to its environmental footprint, and in a way, reusable launcher are helping also to reduce such footprint.
I didn't, in the questions I sent to you before our interview arrangements, I didn't have a question about the defense side of the industry, but any quick comment about the role that that's playing? Obviously, it seems to be growing.
Well, it's funny. It seemed that people rediscovered that space was dual use by design. Let's remember that the first satellite launch ever launched in orbit, Sputnik, was launched on a converted interballistic missile. And then that's how orbital rocketry started. Yet, defense has always been around our industry, but was used to be driven by very specific and expensive needs, state-of-the-art needs, which were even pushing the technological capabilities of the vendors, and had some transfer effect to the commercial industry. And we see this being reversed in a way that since the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, the defense customers organization realize that there are so much opportunity to tackle from the commercial players, which are available, which are fairly affordable, and in a way, defense is becoming very interesting for the industry as a customer, but also as a way to improve the development cycle. I mean, in the defense world, a short development cycle is 20 years. With what we see in Ukraine on the battlefield, with all the UAE's development and countermeasure, we see a need to shorten the cycle of innovation to adapt, and this is having a ripple effect. And what I see is two trends. It's space companies pivoting to defense because it's a known market with existing needs and growing needs, and it's also defense players, non-space, entering the space industry. And as such, if you read the news this week, I can see Firefly buying a defense contractor for more than $800 million in a way to address new needs like a Golden Dome. And I can also see emerging fast defense company like Anduril also entering the space industry because they want to bring their AI development or space as a software. So defense is definitely a hot topic these days.
I can't believe you just mentioned Firefly. I was leaving my gym earlier this week. I live in Northern Virginia, so I'm in the thick of it here. It's satellite country. And a gentleman in front of me had a T-shirt on that said Firefly on the back. I said, Firefly, like launch? He said, yeah. I said, do you work for Firefly? He said, no, I work for Northrop Grumman.
It's a small world.
Yep. Yep.
Space is cool again.
It's funny.
I'm not sure that everyone wearing a NASA shirt could name a NASA space shuttle mission, but yet we can definitely enjoy this hype.
Yeah. Any final thoughts about the industry? Anything we haven't talked about, or what are you thinking?
I think we're kind of at crossroad right now for the industry. I mean, it's an exciting time to work for the industry. We are seeing a new order of volume in terms of satellites being manufactured and launches, and yet there are also a lot of landscape movement between the industry. We have newcomers entering this industry. Look at AWS. Being one of the largest player in orbit, which is about to launch 3,000 satellites. We also have newcomers in China with an automotive company named Geely, a car manufacturer.
Is Europe going to catch up?
Space is becoming faster. The Earth is spinning faster than it used to be. There is an issue in catching up on this momentum, and Europe is very much facing these challenges. And that's I'm looking forward for the next European Ministerial Conference in the coming weeks to see how decision maker will catch up with this. But
Okay,
it's a broader move.
So where can people obtain this glorious new report, which talks about our $665 billion industry? And where can they contact you? And where can they learn more about Novaspace?
So go on our website. You can find the report. You can buy it. You can download the free extract where you have a lot of information. And on our website, you can reach out to us by our contact email address, or also on LinkedIn. And we're more than happy to jump on the call and have a catch up.
Thank you very much, Maxime. So I'll take us out here. I want to thank the Mobile Satellite Users Association for hosting these sessions. You can learn more about the MSUA at msua.org. You can learn how to get our weekly newsletter that gives you updates on everything that's happening in the industry and shares information about upcoming events. And you can also find out how to become a member. We look forward to seeing you next time on MSUA's Game Changers webcast. Maxime, thank you very much.
Roger, thank you very much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.